Welcome to
everyone. We're
this deep
diving
dive.
into.
We'll be exploring the life and work of a Korean author.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at excerpts from a book of essays.
Okay.
And the title is Hello, H-O-L-O,
Hello.
New Dutch PDF. It's like a personal journal.
A journal.
Yeah, written during the author's stay on Noto Island in South Korea.
Interesting.
It offers a fascinating glimpse into their world.
It does. The title roughly translates to Noto Island Diary.
Noto Island Diary. Okay, so we've got a window into this creative process.
Yes.
Set against the backdrop of a remote island. I'm already intrigued.
Me too.
So what can you tell us about Noto itself? What kind of place is it?
It's described as very peaceful,
Peaceful.
almost secluded, with stunning natural beauty.
Huh.
The author often mentions the emerald green waters,
Wow.
and there's an abundance of wildlife. They saw deer and cats,
Okay.
and even snakes.
Snakes. Wow.
Yeah.
I can already sense that mix of tranquility and a touch of wildness.
Yeah.
It makes you think, what was the author hoping to accomplish on Noto?
Well, they were working on a historical novel.
What novel?
About Seopo.
Okay.
He was a prominent figure in Korean literature,
Interesting.
and he was actually exiled to Noto Island 330 years before the author arrived.
That's an incredible coincidence. They were writing a historical novel.
Yeah,
That must have required a lot of research.
it did.
Was that even possible on such a remote island?
Well, that seems to be part of the challenge.
Yeah.
They talk about limited access to amenities,
Okay.
the struggle with everyday tasks like cooking in a new environment,
Right.
and the constant battle against the cold weather.
You know, it's funny how we often romanticize simple living,
It's true.
but the reality can be a lot tougher than it appears.
All right.
Did the author ever express any frustration with these challenges?
There are moments of frustration for sure.
Okay.
They talk about relying heavily on the kindness of the island's caretaker
Mm-hmm.
and fellow residents.
So there was a sense of community, even in isolation. That makes me think about the balance between solitude and human connection.
Yeah,
Something a lot of writers grapple with.
they do.
Did they seem to find that balance on Noto?
It's a recurring theme throughout the essays.
Yep.
They clearly sought the tranquility of the island to focus on their work,
Right.
but the isolation also brought moments of loneliness and a yearning for connection. There's a beautiful tension there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I imagine the island itself played a role in their writing as well,
Oh, absolutely.
with its history and natural beauty.
Yes,
Did they ever mention how their surroundings influenced their work?
absolutely. They actually went so far as to change the setting of their novel to Noto Island,
Wow.
saying it breathed new life into the story.
Interesting.
They also talk about moments of inspiration,
Okay.
but also writer's block
Right.
and self-doubt.
Which makes them very relatable, wouldn't you say?
Very relatable.
Absolutely. Every creative person knows those feelings all too well. It's reassuring to know even accomplished authors struggle with those same things.
Absolutely.
You know what really stood out to me, though, were those little personal anecdotes.
The anecdotes.
Yeah, sprinkled throughout the essays,
Mm.
like unexpected glimpses into their life beyond the writing.
Yeah, I agree. Those anecdotes, while seemingly unconnected to the main narrative, offer a profound understanding
Yeah,
of the author's background and the
Yeah.
cultural context they bring to their writing.
like the story about their mother's garlic leaf kimchi.
Yes.
It wasn't just about food.
Right.
It was a window into their family life and perhaps even the economic hardships they face.
Exactly. And it hints at the expectations placed on young women in Korean culture, even back then.
Yeah.
The pressure to marry,
Right.
the importance of food and family. These small details paint a vivid picture.
They do. They make those seemingly insignificant memories carry a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And it makes me curious about how those cultural influences might have shaped their writing. Did you notice any connections between those personal reflections and their work on the novel?
There are definitely parallels.
Okay.
For instance, the author talks about the pressure they felt to marry at a young age.
Right.
And in their novel, Seopo is forced into exile,
Okay.
a decision that drastically alters the course of his life.
Right.
Makes you wonder if the author is deliberately weaving those personal threads into Seopo's story.
That's a really fascinating observation.
Yeah,
It suggests a deeper layer of meaning,
definitely.
almost as if the author is using Seopo's story to explore their own personal anxieties about fate and societal pressures.
Mhm.
And it highlights the fact that Even historical figures,
Yeah.
these larger-than-life people,
Right.
they also had to navigate those everyday challenges and expectations.
Couldn't agree more.
It adds a whole new dimension to what, on the surface, might appear to be just a writer's retreat.
It really does.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Yes.
What seems simple at first glance reveals unexpected complexities the deeper you delve.
Yeah.
It's making me even more curious to hear about the rest of the author's journey on Noto.
Oh, me too. You know, it's remarkable how these little anecdotes offer these glimpses into Korean culture.
Yeah.
Like the story about their childhood school lunches, the bento boxes warmed on a classroom stove.
Right.
Speaks volumes about community and resourcefulness.
It paints such a vivid picture.
He does.
And it makes you think about how food plays such a central role in Korean culture, even in those simple everyday moments.
It's not just about sustenance.
Right.
It's about connection and shared experience.
Exactly.
And that theme of connection seems to resonate even more deeply when you consider the author's reflections on solitude.
You're right. We talked earlier about that balance between solitude and connection.
Yeah.
There's this poignant moment in the essays where the author receives news of a friend's passing.
Oh, wow.
And it triggers this deep contemplation on the fleeting nature of time and the importance of human connection.
It's where the essay collection transcends a simple travelogue and becomes something much more profound.
Right.
The island, with its vastness and isolation, becomes a space for the author to grapple with existential questions about life and death.
It's almost as if the island's solitude amplifies those reflections.
It does.
Forcing them to confront those deeper truths.
Yeah.
Did they find any solace in their writing during that time of grief?
They do mention finding comfort in the routine of writing,
Yeah.
even in the face of loss.
Yeah.
It speaks to the power of creative expression
Right.
as a way to process complex emotions.
It's fascinating how writing can be both an escape
Yes.
and a confrontation.
Right.
A way to process both the joys and sorrows of life.
Absolutely.
And speaking of confronting complexities, the author's historical novel delves into the life of Siopo,
Right.
who was exiled to Noto Island centuries ago.
The parallels between the author's journey and Siopo's exile are striking.
There.
Both sought refuge on the island, both grappling with the challenges of isolation and a longing for connection.
It's almost as if the author is retracing Siopo's steps, both physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
They even visited historical sites related to Siopo, including his grave.
Imagine the weight of history they must have felt,
Right.
standing in those very places where Siopo once walked.
Right.
It's as if they're bridging the past and the present,
Yeah.
breathing life into history through their writing.
It makes their connection to Siopo even more powerful, wouldn't you say?
It does.
They're not just researching his life.
Right.
They're experiencing it on a visceral level.
Exactly. It adds a layer of authenticity to their writing.
Right.
A depth of understanding that wouldn't be possible without this immersive experience.
Absolutely.
Did they ever express any personal views about Siopo's work? Did they see any reflections of themselves in his writing?
There are definitely moments where they seem to be channeling Siopo's spirit, drawing parallels between his struggles and their own. They admire his resilience,
Yes.
his ability to create beauty even in the face of adversity.
That's a beautiful observation.
Yeah.
It highlights the universality of human experience,
Right.
regardless of time or place.
And it reminds us that even historical figures,
Yes?
these seemingly distant figures from the past, were once real people
Right.
who faced real challenges and emotions.
It humanizes history,
Yeah.
making it feel more relatable and relevant to our own lives.
You know, I'm struck by how much the author's personal experiences,
Yeah.
those seemingly random anecdotes and reflections,
Right.
enrich their exploration of Siopo's life. It's not just a dry historical account.
Right.
It's a deeply personal and emotional journey.
I completely agree. It's the perfect blend of personal narrative and historical exploration.
And it makes me think about how our own personal experiences shape the way we see the world,
Yes.
the way we understand history, the way we create art. Even something as simple as the memory of a childhood lunch can influence our perspective in profound ways.
That's so true. And it speaks to the power of personal narrative
Right.
to illuminate even the most complex historical events.
It's like the author is saying that history isn't just a collection of dates and facts. It's a story of people,
Yeah.
their lives, their struggles, their triumphs.
Right.
And those personal stories have the power to connect us across time and culture.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that history is alive.
Yeah.
It's relevant.
Yeah.
It's woven into the fabric of our own lives.
And it makes me wonder if the author found any unexpected parallels between their own life and Siapo's life. As they delved deeper into his story, did they ever express a sense of surprise at the connections they uncovered?
They do mention a moment of revelation, where they realized that Siapo's exile was more than just a historical event. It was a reflection of the human condition.
Wow.
The universal struggle for freedom and belonging.
That's such a profound insight.
It is.
It suggests that even in the most specific and seemingly isolated historical events, we can find echoes of our own experiences, our own desires, our own fears.
It's a reminder that history isn't just about the past. It's about understanding ourselves and the world we live in.
And speaking of understanding ourselves, one thing that really struck me was the author's honesty but the challenges of the creative process.
You're referring to their struggles with writer's block and self-doubt.
Exactly. It's so refreshing to hear an accomplished author talk about those difficult moments.
I know.
Those moments when inspiration seems to vanish.
Yes.
And the words just won't come.
It humanizes the creative process.
It does.
Reminding us that it's not always a smooth and effortless journey.
And it makes their eventual success all the more inspiring, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It shows that perseverance, dedication, and a willingness to confront those inner demons are just as important as talent.
And it makes me think about the author's decision to change the setting of their novel to Noto Island. It wasn't just a logistical decision. It was a creative leap of faith. A way to breathe new life into their story.
It speaks to the power of place.
Right.
To inspire and transform both the writer and the work.
It's like the island itself became a character in their story.
It did.
Shaping the narrative in unexpected ways. And it makes me wonder if the author ever expressed any feelings of gratitude towards the island, towards the experience of living and working in such a unique and inspiring place.
There are several passages where they express a deep appreciation for the island's beauty, its tranquility, its ability to foster both solitude and connection.
It sounds like Noto Island was more than just a setting for their novel.
It was.
It was a catalyst for personal growth and creative exploration.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. It was a journey of self-discovery. A chance to connect with history. An opportunity to delve into the complexities of the creative process.
And it makes me curious to know if the author ever reflected on how their time on Noto might have changed them, not just as a writer, but as a person.
They do mention feeling a renewed sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of their own creativity, and a newfound appreciation for the simple things in life.
It sounds like a truly transformative experience.
It does.
And it makes me wonder if they ever expressed any anxieties about leaving the island, about returning to the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
They do acknowledge a sense of apprehension about leaving the peace and solitude of Noto, but also a sense of excitement about sharing their work with the world. It's a bittersweet moment.
It is.
Full of anticipation and reflection.
It's the natural combination of their journey, wouldn't you say?
It is.
They arrived on the island seeking inspiration and solitude. And they leave with a completed novel, a deeper understanding of themselves, and a profound connection to the history and culture of Noto Island.
Absolutely.
It really does feel like the culmination of a journey. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I can't help but think back to the author's question about being transported to a remote island to focus on creative work.
I think it's a question we can all relate to in some way. What would it be like to step away from the demands of everyday life and truly dedicate ourselves to our passions?
What challenges and rewards might we encounter? What kind of story would emerge from that experience?
Well, the author's experience suggests that it can be both liberating and challenging. You know, there's the freedom to explore, to create without distractions, but also the potential for isolation, self-doubt, and unexpected obstacles.
Their story reminds us that the creative process isn't always easy or glamorous. There will be moments of frustration, uncertainty, and even despair. But there will also be moments of pure joy, inspiration, and a sense of accomplishment that makes it all worthwhile.
And sometimes those moments of breakthrough come from unexpected sources, like the author's connection to Siapo. That wasn't something they could have planned for. It emerged organically from their immersion in the island's history and culture.
It highlights the importance of being open to unexpected connections, of allowing ourselves to be surprised by the world around us.
And it makes me wonder what hidden stories are waiting to be discovered in our own lives.
Yeah.
What connections are we overlooking?
Perhaps the author's journey can inspire us to be more attentive, more curious, more willing to delve into the unknown.
I think that's a beautiful takeaway. And it reminds me of something the author said towards the end of their essays.
Okay.
They talk about feeling a renewed sense of appreciation for the simple things in life.
Like what?
The beauty of nature, the kindness of strangers, the power of human connection.
It's almost as if their time on Noto stripped away the distractions and allowed them to see the world with fresh eyes.
It's a reminder that sometimes we need to distance ourselves from the familiar in order to truly appreciate it.
And maybe that's the ultimate lesson of this deep dive. It's not just about learning about a Korean author's experience on a remote island. It's about reflecting on our own lives, our own creative journeys, and the things that truly matter to us.
I think that's a wonderful way to sum it up. The author's journey is a testament to the power of solitude, the importance of human connection, and the transformative potential of the creative process.
It's been a truly fascinating exploration, and I hope our listeners will be inspired to discover more about Noto Island Sipo and Korean literature.
I wholeheartedly agree. There's a whole world of stories out there waiting to be discovered.
And who knows, maybe some of our listeners will even be inspired to embark on their own creative journeys, to seek out their own Noto Island, their own source of inspiration.
I certainly hope so, because as the author's story so beautifully demonstrates, the most rewarding journeys are often the ones we least expect.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.